So we began to think that maybe we ought to stick with what we know, which is small-scale, fine-grained, walkable neighborhoods like we already have, by the way, which is our claim to fame in the most positive way, and look at things like people are doing in new ways in other cities, in progressive marketplaces, building things, popular terms are pocket neighborhoods. A whole book was written on this. Or co-housing, which is an idea that's catching on. And its basic principle is that people can live together in a cooperative, collaborative, and concerned community. Well, isn't that who we are as Cleveland Heightsers? At least that's what we've always claimed to be. And maybe that idea can be revitalized to some degree, at least in a small way on this property. And then, of course, there's the idea of building green, looking at things like community solar energy and geothermal resource recovery and sustainability relative to stormwater management. Well, we've got green space, we've got a park, and all of those things are, and we've got a building that's got big roofs on it. Well, all of these things could make sense here, okay? So we started putting the puzzle pieces together, and here's where we ended up. In about 2 minutes, I'm done. We said, well, if we're going to build something, where would you build it? Well, we don't want to tear this down. You guys already know that. And we don't want to take out the park. So where do we have land to build anything? Because we thought building this kind of thing is good. And we'll talk about why maybe later on in the panel discussion when you ask questions. And I'm sure you're going to ask us that and form your own opinions. Well, in discovery, and this is where the urban designer in me came out, we all discovered that there was pieces of property here that are underutilized. In fact, over 2 acres of land. This is the fence line here that exists today. On the other side of the fence line is a whole hillside, a sidewalk, and a wide tree lawn that can be reclaimed. There's the north leg of Washington Boulevard. When you have houses on both sides of the street like you do up to this point, having a two-sided median street makes sense. But over here, we've got a whole street that does nothing but park about 12 cars. Maybe that public asset can become a part of this P.E.A.C.E. campus. We have an asphalt lot here. That used to be the playground that the kids used to run around in when remember we were kids? At least my age, I remember, chasing little girls around and making trouble. When this was a school, that's what you did. But now, that's not used. It's just a big wad of asphalt. Let's reclaim it. And then we have the whole eastern property that I never see anybody in, that has a stunning ravine in it. Well, maybe that could become a part of this campus as well. So here's a quick look at those with photographs. Here, these upper two are the big green areas along Euclid Heights. There's the fence. This is the northernmost section of Washington. That is just parking cars. And this is the big wad of asphalt. Let's look at reclaiming those. And then this, of course, is the underutilized east property, which is slabs of asphalt, a stunning ravine, a 10-foot high fence that doesn't allow you to enjoy that ravine, which could be a thrill for kids to experience as a unique part of nature, and a grassy hillside. Those are things that could be reclaimed and put to use. And then we said, is there any other areas that are considered part of the park? They're inside the fence line that we could consider utilizing as additional repurposed property. There is the mound here, because we're laying it all out here. We want you to know everything so you can think for yourself. My laser pointer isn't working. There's a thing that says mound, which is a big wad of dirt that was actually part of the fill from when the school was torn down. It was just left there and made into a mound. Kind of blocks your views into the space. There is the lower play area, which could be relocated so that we could create a continuous stretch of property. There's what I call the landscape ridge next to the little 6-car parking lot. And then there's a little grass area on the end of the existing parking lot. There's a very specific reason that we want you to think about repurposing each of these 4 areas, and I'll show you now. This is what they look like. Upper left is the mound, upper right is the ridge, and then the lower areas is that play area, which is the weakest part of the playgrounds. It doesn't take out the big slide or any of the really cool stuff. That's easily relocated and frankly revitalized with more contemporary equipment that the kids like my grandchildren would love. We will not ever support taking out the great lawn, the hillside, the event hillside, or the upper playgrounds, ever. Okay? We just don't. And the truth is, there isn't a reason to if you look at development the way we are. Okay, so it takes a village. This is Coventry Village. This is a campus. This is an example of the kind of village-style housing that we're considering. This one is actually in Seattle. This is very urban and much more aggressive than what we're planning. But what you see here is small porches, little gardens, community gardens, solar panels on every single building, very cool architecture, identity-making kind of architecture that is modern but fits in. And this became the basis of our thinking. And again, 21st century living is what we're after, to provide things that are harder to get in this community today, or any first-ring suburb, like first-floor master bedrooms for the old folks like me, or first-floor laundry rooms rather than in a basement, or just a large, great room to live in a smaller space. We're not talking about mansions. We're talking about homes that live small, live big, but are small. 1,600 square feet, 1,700 square feet. I would say that's small. And we're talking about for-sale housing. We're talking about living better. We're talking about enhancing the stock of the housing that's around this, and kind of showing the way of the future for the community with this little investment. So, in those areas, you see the dotted lines and a couple of circles. We can get 22 homes, and these would be 1.5 to maximum 2-story homes. They would be low profile. The ones along Euclid Heights actually are at the base of the hill, so they would be partially sunk into the earth. You kind of look over them from the park. And the ones along Washington would create a 2-sided street, which is a very natural thing to do. And again, these would all propose to be for sale. And then I talked about this circle and this area. And these are areas where we have the ability to expand parking. We can turn 6 parking spaces into 22, which would service this end of the building, particularly family connections. Also provide parking for these homes. We're not proposing to put garages in these homes. These people would park in garages or in surface parking in these 2 parking lots. And this piece is critical for our library. This is an enduring place, everybody knows. And it needs parking badly. So we have the ability to wrap the parking lot around, take out a little bit of lawn, create a driveway, and get about 30 parking spaces here for the library, which of course they need and we want. This gives us the ability now to more than double the parking spaces on the site to make it work functionally. And you will notice that we still got the lawn, we still got the playgrounds, we still got the hillside, but even better than that, what we have is a campus. We have what we're striving for, which is balance, which is a balance of some beautiful expressive homes, an art center with all of these people here and more, and a park that is bigger and better than it is today. The lower playground would get relocated here, expanding this right outside Family Connections' door. We could construct an amphitheater. We could put a walking trail around the whole thing. So this isn't just a kid's place. This is a place where adults can exercise. And we can start thinking about the kinds of things that big cities are doing to retain their population. They got the same issues that we do. And they're building things like this because adults have to choose to stay here. Kids don't have any money, the adults do. And young families want these kinds of amenities. We can build a plaza for markets and art fairs and gatherings and parties and weddings inside this space. Whatever you want, right out of the front of the big glass wall. Now we take the back 40, as I like to call it, and we open it up with the walking trail. With a little grading, we create a rain garden that would support all of the bioretention needs of this building. We could create community gardens here, and anybody could have a garden. We could take that ugly fence down and create a ravine overlook. And we're talking about birds and butterflies and wonderful planting. This is a learning space as well as a playing space. And at the end of the day, we doubled the amount of parkland that we took to do the other things that we're doing. So I will end there and say this is our motion. Maybe that's an understatement. But this is our notion, and we'd love to hear what you think. Thank you.